Alright, we're recording. This is going to be a typing session using Socionics Model A. The terminology and definitions used will be reflective of that. At the end will be a DCNH subtype, which is Model G. I'm going to be asking you a series of questions, and I would like it if you would answer them in a way that's open-ended. Feel free to ramble on. Because it's your time to talk and it's my time to listen. Also, this is not me telling you your type. This is me giving you my suggestion. So please use this as another data point in understanding yourself. For only you know yourself to the highest degree. We're going to start with the first question.
Let's go.
Wait a second. How do you respond to the emotions of others?
It's very situational based. So I kind of put value on how important other people's needs are depending on the circumstances that the person is feeling said emotion. For example, if it's a serious situation, I'm going to put 100% of my effort into making sure I'm understanding how that person's feeling and obviously trying to help if need be. If I feel like the person's emotions are kind of exaggerated or it's a situation that really does not need to require any sort of emotional time and energy. For example, if someone is crying because of something stupid, like their best friend said something to them, it's like very, yeah, if you're feeling that sort of way, it's just words. But I feel like if someone is losing a family member, definitely perfect time for. I forgot the question, but just generalized of how I deal with emotions. Others.
Okay. The question is, how do you respond to the emotions of other people?
Oh yeah. So I'm not waffling on. Yeah, that's basically how I'll deal with it. It depends on situational, but I would probably be more nurturing to people that desperately need it, and I'll kind of, I guess, to people that I feel like don't really need the time, I would still be nice to them, but I feel like I wouldn't give them any sort of advice or any sort of like long-term support if I feel like it's a situation they can deal with themselves.
Okay. Can you tell me about any reoccurring problems you've been having in your life?
I feel like a lot of my problems is to do with at this moment, I feel like it's more to do with an identity thing, if I'm going to be completely honest. Growing up in a conservative area and being a very flamboyant male, it's not been easy. But I feel like as an adult, now living by myself, I feel like I've kind of came back who I am, and I feel like I'm definitely confident. But I feel like my recurring problems is to do with like the self, trying to fit in. I feel like there's been a lot of conflicting energies in my life. I feel like trying to navigate through that has definitely been difficult. But I feel like as far as everything else, I'm always been quite reliant on career. I've got somewhere to live. I'm not really bothered about relationship status, so that's never been an issue. So yeah, I'll probably narrow it down to a personal thing, personality thing, identity thing would be a recurring problem. That's no longer a problem, but yeah.
Okay. You were elected the dictator of your home country for 6 months to solve its problems. What do you do to fix them?
Oh God, I would hate to be in that position. Okay. Um, I guess I would rely on the general consensus, what the issue is, what the solutions is, and I guess I would see, because you're not going to please everybody, but if the majority of people agree with you, that's what you're getting with. I guess you don't want an uprising, and you want to make um your time and power worthwhile. So I guess I'd be a kind of a diplomat. I wouldn't want to take any drastic decision in my hands because I don't like upsetting people with the best of days. I don't like the confrontation side of things. So I feel like if people can disagree with you, you're going to want less people to disagree with you. So I'd definitely be a diplomat in the sense I would probably choose the majority just for the sake of being in that position. If it was a smaller group of people, I'll be fine. But if it's a large scale of people and I'm a leader, I'll definitely let people, the majority, decide, and the rest of them can go suck it. I didn't have any specific thing I wanted to do. So I was just like, no. Oh, I can't deal with the general, like working in hospitality and just hearing the same personality types complain about the same things. It's just like the general public are a simulation. I could not be in a position of power or I'd have to deal with fucking idiots. I couldn't do it. I don't care about the general public's needs. Like I would hate it. But if I was like elected, obviously I would have to be responsible. But the gist is, I'd be a diplomat and let the majority of what the majority wants rule over the minority. Um, and just chillax the rest of the time I'm there. Get a martini, sit on the beach, enjoy my life.
Okay. That's actually really funny. I mean, it says a lot about human beings, though.
Yeah, I don't care that your hot dog is cold. Like, you don't have to eat here. Like, Jesus Christ. Maybe if you didn't chat shit to your friends for 20 minutes, it would have stayed warm. Food isn't meant to stay warm by itself, dumbass. Oh, I just can't deal with people. It triggers me. I just hate getting the same complaints no matter where I work.
Yeah, I mean, here in the United States, I mean, we have a different problem. Like, there's like food, and they like served it with like plastic, and then the food was hot
Oh,
enough to melt the plastic.
oh God.
And it's like that's pretty much like unedible, you know?
Mm,
It's like toxic.
mm.
I'd rather have
Like, I'm not
cold
saying
food
you
than
shouldn't be honest because I value people's honesties, but the Karen stereotype is what everyone's calling it. So that is just like the over entitlement, and they deliberately find things to pick and complain about. It's like, oh, babes, you're asking the wrong person. I've got no sympathy for you.
yeah. What the problem is that everyone just way too self-important.
Yeah.
And it's like
I mean,
that's
I'll take my time to listen to someone's complaint and then I'll decide how important their needs are. And then if I'm like, oh, I'm over it, I'll go and get a manager straight away. I won't even deal with it.
yeah. I
It's
rarely,
when they start
I
yelling at
rarely
me.
complain about things. You know what I mean? It's just like if I don't like that, I just won't go there. Like, but I'll love the fucking places that do it right. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
You know, I personally wouldn't go out my day to complain and make someone miserable. But if someone's going to ask for my opinion, I'm going to be honest. Like, I'm not going to be like, it was nice when I didn't enjoy it. But then, like, I'm not going to go out my way and, like, kick a fuss. Like, if I order food at a restaurant, I didn't like it, that's on me because I ordered something I didn't like and I didn't know and I tried it, you know? I'm not going to go out my way and pretend my food was fucked because I didn't like what I ordered so I can get my money back. It's not like food's free samples, you know, that shit's expensive to order in. I tell people this straight up. If they're going to yell at me, I'm not dealing with them. And they're like, oh, you can't do that. You're a server. I was like, no, I'm a person. If you want me to be honest with you, bitch, I'm going to be honest with you. So don't try me.
Based.
Okay. I really do need to focus.
That's okay.
What are your hopes, dreams, and aspirations?
Well, I kind of want to do something that's going to like make me successful, but then I don't want to be famous. Because I don't want people up in my business. But then at the same time, like, I want to be like a backup dancer for celebrities. And I'm currently doing dance courses and stuff. So like I'm really passionate about that. I've already got a set like plan. And I've always been quite a driven person. So I feel like give it a year, I might actually be successful, but we'll see.
Oh man. Sorry.
I feel like I already have set ambitions though, and it's just kind of like going with it as the time goes. I feel like one ambition I've got at the moment that's definitely not sure about is my like home security. Because like at the moment, I'm after May, I'm not going to have anywhere to live, but we kind of do have somewhere to live, but it's not finalized yet, so we'll get there. I just want somewhere to live for a few years, rack up that coin, and you know, get a good career. Which I don't think is too hard. It's actually just got to put a little bit of work in. I kind of want to be an inspirational speaker, but then it's just like, what would I even do?
That's interesting.
But then I also want to be an actor, but that's like really far reach.
Yeah, actor's impossible in this society.
Yeah, especially now I'm like already getting into my 20s. The doors are slowly closing. If I go to uni now to be an actor, by the time I finish, I'm already 30, then I've actually got to find someone that will take me seriously. Then I got to work my way up. By the time I'm actually a serious actor, like in A-list Hollywood movies, I'll be like 45. It's like no point at this point.
I've had somebody tell me that I should be an actor before.
Really?
Yeah. Actually, it was actually like I went to like this performance, right? Like this guy who's from out of town, this Italian American guy, basically came and um so he was playing like this like all of these different routines on the piano because he's like this famous pianist. And it was like he also did like a whole show as well. And so it was like it actually wasn't just the piano playing that was magnificent, even though the piano playing was like world class. It was like actually the performance, um, and actually,
Mm.
and so like I was brought up on stage at one point because they wanted two people to act, and so I did this. I did like a little skit with like this older woman, and it was it was actually really funny. I don't really remember it that much, but I remember people actually clapped, and then somebody told me like later that I should be an actor.
That's quite cute, actually.
Yeah.
Just imagine like people clapping and throwing flowers.
Yeah. Okay, but let's move on. How do you manage your time?
Normally I would do something practical, but I've got a week off work, so at the moment doing nothing. So it probably depends on what I'm actually doing. If I've got time off work and I'm kind of just sat around doing nothing all day, but if it's a day at work, I'm very productive for the day. Like I'll get stuff done and organized, ready, so I'm in the right mindset to go into work and want to actually do work. So it depends on my work schedule at the moment, really.
Okay.
I do work a lot, so my daily routine kind of consists of whatever I need to do to get myself pumped ready and ready for work.
All right. That actually makes a bunch of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Would you consider yourself good at predicting the future?
So I've got this little voice. I call her Doomsday. She always like tells me something's gonna happen, and it just instantly happens. But it's not like predicting the future like what you would see like a psychic medium with a crystal ball doing. It's not that extent. But Doomsday be telling me stuff in my ear, and I'd be like, "Oh wait, that's gonna happen," and then it happens. Like just a second ago, actually, funnily enough, I was scrolling through Instagram and I saw this post, and it gave me like a deja vu, like someone was going to join the VC, and then Nuclear joined the VC. I dream a lot as well, and my dreams do like end up happening to a degree. Like I'll see situations in my dreams, and it kind of plays out like it's a metaphor. But yeah, I would say I'm somewhat psychic. I feel like a lot of. Sorry.
I was just laughing.
Okay. I feel like a lot of Doomsday's stuff as well is to do with like reading people. Like sometimes people say stuff and instantly Doomsday's like, no, that's a lie. Like, and like, oh my God, I'll give you a good example, right? So one time at one of my old jobs, this girl told me I was pregnant, and in my ear, Doomsday just told me she's going to have to fake a miscarriage. And I was like, oh my God, that's really bad intrusive thought. I cannot tell anybody that. Past 3 months, she started going around telling me she's had a miscarriage. I'm like, I knew she was lying about having a pregnancy. This bitch. I don't know. I just get hunches and intuition, and Doomsday be telling me stuff, and it happens. And sometimes it's stuff random as well. Like sometimes it's be like she'd be telling me a milk truck's going to come around the corner, and I kid you not, like a milk truck like manifests into existence. I'm like, how do I know that? But yeah, I would say yes to your question.
Okay. So you named the voice in your head?
Yeah, I go to Doomsday. She's always been telling me stuff that's going to happen.
Oh man. It's kind of bizarre. Let's move on. Do you find it easy to relax?
Yes. So my idea of relaxing is a bit different to what like stereotypically you think relaxing is. So relaxing would be like stereotypically like sitting down, pampering, some sort of sauna, or just like relaxing in bed, right? So my idea of relaxing is like planning a spontaneous holiday with the girls because now I've got the income for it. Like for me, relaxing is seeing new places and stuff and like learning. So I feel like I'm always in a position to go and do something. Like I feel like sitting down and relaxing is a comfort thing, but like it's not how I get relaxed. But I would say I would get relaxed easily because there's always something to stimulate my brain. If that makes sense. Like I have to be doing things to be relaxed. Like I live in a city now, which is like perfect because I can just go out on walks by the sea and just chill.
Okay. Um. My mind is like just drifting around so much. Is your room clean?
Yes, actually, I cleaned it today. It's all organized and neatly packed away. I've got things where I actually need it to be. All my drawers are coordinated based on their functions. I didn't get to wash my spare blanket because the last time I used it was in the summer. We had picnics outside in the public park. Apart from that, it's all pretty. It's cutely organized. I don't know. I just got an urge to clean today, and I just decided to blitz my room.
Okay. So like, how do you clean and why do you clean?
So normally my room gets really disorganized. So like it's like disorganized like a disorganized. I don't know how to explain it. Like it looks messy, but things I know where I need them to be, so I can easily get access to them. So it's mainly just like scattered stuff all over the side. But today I decided to clean because I don't know. I feel like I was looking around my room. I was like, I need something to do today. So I thought, fuck it, I'll just clean it. But normally I would clean my room if I'm having people over because I don't want people judging me and thinking I'm that girl because I'm really not that girl. But today I just thought I'd clean.
Okay.
I guess I like the validation of people going, "Oh my god, you're so tidy." I don't know.
Ah, I just had like a realization that like the literature I've read, the translation of the word was incorrect and it was clouding my judgment.
Of what? Sorry.
Well, it is talking about SI being referred to as aesthetics, and I suddenly just like realized what that meant. It's appearances. Appearances. That's the more accurate word.
Yes.
But anyway, I'm going to move on. How do you take constructive criticism?
Um, to be honest, really well compared to what I used to. Like, I feel like you're never going to be true yourself unless you're learning something. So I feel like with constructive criticism nowadays, I take it so well. I'm like, right, I need to hear what you're saying. I need to recalibrate at what you said, and I need to figure out what's the best way to apply this. As long as it's constructive. I don't like normal criticism because it's very like, well, you're just being prude. But yeah, I definitely take it on board. I like a challenge, and I feel like there's always room for improvement. Just feel like some people need to be like less arrogant about it and just take it on, because at the end of the day, it's constructive. People are trying to help you, so just roll with it.
Strong agree, actually.
There was a point in my life though where people were criticizing me, and I didn't quite understand the content of how helpful criticism can be. And I was like, bitch, don't clock me. I'm fabulous. But then looking back at myself, I'm like, oh, she was busted. She needed that help. But yeah, I definitely think it's a good thing. I take it on really well.
All right. Do you ever think of the outcome when making decisions?
Not really, to be honest. I feel like I'm always content with what decisions I need to make. That I feel like if I was to make a decision rationally, that I wouldn't really affect myself. I feel like the only time I would reconsider is if I know if I don't know the outcome, what it would be considering my health. But apart from that, I feel like not really, no.
Okay. Interesting. Do you ever use the affect of others in decision making? So, examples of this can include body language, facial expression, or tone of voice.
Sorry, what was the question?
Do you ever make decisions using the affect of others? So, I'm basically like referring to you look at the person and then you can gauge their emotional state through like their expressions.
To an extent. I feel like my decisions can be affected based on what the room's feeling. Like I have a very good sense of how people visually express their emotions. Um, More so as strangers, which are more comfortable with that. I feel like more reserved or introvert people, I do struggle to know what they're feeling unless I know them personally. But as far as like decision making, I feel like I'll never make a decision to upset anybody. So I take people's feelings consideration, depending if I know what's going on with them. But normally I can be quite selfless, depending on obviously how people are going to feel. If I feel like it's justified, I'm going to make the decision regardless. But I feel like I don't want to step on anybody. So I feel like I'll definitely be consulting of what people are feeling before I make a decision. If it's revolving other people, obviously.
Okay. Wow, that actually makes a lot of sense.
I'd say because I just feel like I'm waffling.
No, what you're saying makes a lot of sense. It actually does.
Hmm.
All right. Do you ever intentionally affect the emotions of others?
Um, Probably. I would just feel like I don't, but I think I probably do. Because it's just one of those things you can't help. People are going to feel a certain way by things you do. I feel like I get more surprised though when people tell me someone is feeling a certain way because something I've done. Because I feel like as much as I value my ability to be empathetic, I feel like sometimes I don't quite receive it the other way around. Does that make sense? Like I feel like sometimes my existence, I don't always calibrate how that could affect others emotionally. Unless people tell me, I kind of more like observe people and how they feel rather than what I'm contributing to them emotionally. Unless I'm close to them, it's a different story because I'm normally always with them. So I kind of know when the mood's shifted and when they're feeling differently. But with strangers, no idea half the time.
Okay. Could you give me like the gist of what you were just saying?
What was the question again?
It was, do you ever intentionally affect the emotions of others?
Oh, not intentionally, no. We
Not
technically, yeah. I'm not self-aware I'm affecting other people's emotions. So if it's like me physically like being aware that I'm gonna do it, no, I don't. It's normally unintentionally, and I'm not aware of it half the time. That's the gist of what I just said.
Okay. Oh man, this is really helping me refine a lot. Okay. How do you respond to your own emotions? How do you process them?
I feel like I pretty quickly know how I'm feeling. I feel like my emotions don't have a lot of depth because it's normally one emotion or the other in terms of how many emotions I'm displaying. Hold on a second, sorry. I feel like emotionally, I'm not too drastic in how many emotions I'm feeling in a short period. I feel like I'm either just happy-go-lucky or very like, I don't know how you describe my emotion really. She kind of be wild in, she's a bit of a tornado. But I don't know. I feel like I instantly know how I'm feeling about the situation. I will either verbalize it or just like kind of deal with it myself. But I don't feel like my emotions are too complex for me to not know how I'm not feeling. So, like, I don't often get sad about things. I don't really regret things often because I'm normally content with the decisions I make. I guess the main emotions I feel is either happy or angry, I guess. But I don't really get angry often. It just depends if someone's been stupid, really.
Sometimes when I get angry, it's for the wrong reasons.
Oh, I always get angry for the right reasons. I'm never sporadic and want to just fight everybody. But sometimes, like if it's injustice or I feel like someone's being unfair, I will be like, listen, bitch, I'm checking you right now. This ain't happening. I don't like confrontation unless it's called for.
All right. Well, you did kind of answer another question. That's kind of funny.
Oh, really?
Yeah. How do you form your moral values?
A lot of my morals, I feel like I've kind of stolen from other people, if I'm going to be honest. I feel like my moral compass is kind of generic, though. It's very like, make sure everyone's feeling fair, make sure there's no shady shit going on, no murder, conform to the law, stuff like that. I don't know if I would have, because I don't quite understand morals, like as a concept. I get it, it's the right and your rights and wrongs, right? But I feel like unless you're physically asking me situational things and how I respond, I can't actually pinpoint what I would consider a moral or a personality trait. But I guess I feel like a lot of the times I have talked about things and people say that's a moral. I feel like it's a generic moral that a normal person should have. If that's making sense.
Okay. Do you tend to categorize the external world?
So what, sorry?
Do you tend to categorize the external world?
I don't quite understand the question, but I don't think so.
So
What do you mean? Like, I have set things that are different. Like, I like segregate my work, my social, and you mean like that? Or
I guess that's a degree of it, yes.
Perhaps labels.
oh no, we don't. Mm-mm.
Well, I'm not
I
talking
don't really
about
like
like
it.
labels necessarily. I mean, I think labels could fit under that for sure. Um, but basically like putting objects in like places, and so it's like objects can be people, objects can be ideas, and these sort of things. Do you place them with things that are similar? Um, I guess it's kind of like broadly speaking.
Okay, so when you're putting it like that, I can kind of understand the question more. So I feel like I'm not very organized. I feel like I'm very sporadic. I feel like as I now live myself and have to be more responsible, I feel like I'm getting better at learning how to categorize and organize things. But I feel like I've got a long way to go because I get all these ideas and stuff, and I have all these ways of thinking about how things work, and I kind of need to just kind of like figure out or navigate things better, I guess, would be a good thing for me. But I definitely have a routine forming. So that's one piece of organization I have in my life at the moment, which is good because that's what I need. Some stability.
Okay. Okay. Processing a lot at the moment.
All right.
We're just gonna move on for the moment. I'm gonna go in a different direction.
Oh, spontaneous, love it.
How do you handle conflict with others?
Oh, I hate it. I mean, if someone's put my back against the wall, I'm fighting it. I'm getting out of that. You don't put my back against the wall. But I am not fighting you just for the sake of it. I feel like I would defend myself if you're attacking me, but I'm not attacking you. I hate that shit. I just don't like getting aggressive if it's uncalled for. I'll never make the first move. I'll let them hit me first and I can decide what I'm going to do from there.
Okay.
But we ain't getting to that point where you're going to hit me. I'm not having you shout at me. I'm either walking away or I'm telling you you're wrong and that's it. I feel like though it's not going to get physical, I don't mind having a bit of a verbal tussle, but that's also very rare.
Okay. Do you hesitate or proceed with caution?
What of conflict? Or just in general?
Just as like a general rule of thumb.
I feel like I am quite rapid with my thinking processes. So I feel like I definitely give me 5 seconds and I'll have a solution started in my head. So I feel like I'm always prepared. So I don't really need to take a lot of caution with anything. But I feel like sometimes if I don't understand anything, I'm going to educate myself before. So yeah, I guess to an extent I will take cautions, but it's very situational. I feel like normally my brain normally keeps up with my environment to the point where I'm like already know what I'm thinking or feeling. So I can just be like, yeah, let's do this.
Are you open to new ideas?
I'm normally the one that makes the new ideas, if we're going to be honest with you. I don't feel like around. I'm around a lot of different people, and I feel like as far as creativity, I feel like there's only one or two people that I know that can top me. But I feel like I'm probably the most creative person at the majority of people I know. So I feel like I'm normally one come up with new ideas. But if someone wants to come up with an idea before me, I'm happy to listen and see what the idea is and see if it's actually viable to use. Because I'm a bit of a perfectionist, like low key. Like I kind of need to have input to every idea, whether I follow through the idea or not. But I would say I'm open to an idea if an idea presents itself before I think of an idea. I feel like I'm around a lot of submissive people as well. I feel like a lot of people I know don't want to make ideas. I feel like I kind of have to take the lead a lot of the times because I don't like just doing nothing in an indecisiveness. I hate indecisiveness.
Okay.
Well, obviously, as long as people don't mind, I don't like being controlling because people complain. I just don't like people complaining when they can't make an idea themselves. It's stupid.
Yes. Okay. Do you like to travel?
Yes, I have so many good holiday stories, but obviously we'll save it for another time. I'm actually going Paris this year, actually. It's already booked. Just need to pay for it.
Oh, that's nice. I would love to see Paris.
I've already been there before, but I thought my housemate hasn't, so I said I'll take her. So we're going to Paris. Ooh. I want to do some more traveling of my own country because I feel like I've been everywhere but my own country. Like I'm going to Manchester this next weekend. That'd be nice to explore a different city of the country I've been living. I've been there before.
We're exact opposites. I'm leaving the country soon, but I usually have only traveled within just like my country because it's so vast. But I would love that to be in a different culture in a day.
I feel like if I lived somewhere in the United States, though, where like it has 20 different biomes, I feel like I'd probably travel more within my country.
Yeah,
I feel like England being small, it's basically one ginormous forest,
yeah.
and it rains like there's nothing else to see.
Been to both of the major mountainous regions in the U.S. and that was like one of my favorite things to do. But I've definitely seen like the coast.
What they're called, the Andes and the Rockies, isn't it?
Mm, it's the Rockies and the Appalachians. The Andes
Appalachians.
is, I think
Where
that's
did I get
South
Andes
America.
from? Who's that?
It's South America, isn't it?
I have no idea. It just popped into my head. I got one mountain range right though. I'm howling myself. I need to go to North America again. I've only been there once. I didn't even go to the mainland continent.
Okay. I think we're just gonna go ahead and move on to the results portion. I'm gonna start with like a few of the reign-in dichotomies, and so this is basically just a description of the type, and then we're gonna get into the quadra after that, which is basically what valued functions do you use, and then like what does that tie you to as well. Um, and then also we'll assess the functions individually by strength and position after that. So.
Oh, okay. Cool. I like the sound of this.
All right, so the first dichotomy we're going to touch on is rational versus irrational. And so within the type code, the four-letter typing code in socionics, this is the actual J versus P. So it's do you lead with a judging function or a perceiving function? That is if you are J or P. In the like J and P and the type code actually mean two different things within each system, and that's one thing that some people don't know. It kind of throws everything off because then you can't line the functions up. But that was basically just a tangent. But so rational types are going to be rigid people who tend to stick to their decisions, and they tend to like follow through with things.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're more likely to complete things. They're more likely to like to stay true to what the initial vision was, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Where the irrational types are going to be more, they're going to be more go with the flow. They're going to be more wait and see, and they're open to the information or the situation at hand. So they're very open-ended people, and so I think they're less rigid, in comparison to the rational types, which are rigid. I am under the impression that you are a rational type, mostly because when you're talking about what are your problems, you're giving me a lot of like identity things, and so you're like processing this thing that you are, right? And so that's like what the identity is. Like you're aligning yourself, and so you're talking about like identity issues. You struggle to find alignment with yourself and others, and that's what I think, where it's like you're focusing on you, and not like situations or like more external things. It's like that's kind of what you consider your problem to be, is you identify it as yourself,
Yeah.
And so that's kind of like the understanding that it's like you know, what end of things are you the most towards? You know, it's not like an ILE, like an ENTP, who's just like, oh, these situations really piss me off, or this is frustrating whenever I see this type of thing happen. You know, it's more like, oh, it's me, or it's these other people, or it's like this thing, and it's like never like recurring patterns. It's kind of interesting. So maybe it is in some degree. It actually is. It just really depends on some more factors. Actually, it can be as well. Um,
Yeah.
okay, so now we're gonna go to process result. And so process types are going to be people who are going to be thorough. They're going to read all the way through the material they are going through. They are going to be more focused on the procedure and will say, well, of course we got the correct result because we followed the right process. With the result types, you get people who are more generalist, so they're not specializing as much as like the process types are. They're also people who focus on the outcome rather than the process, and so they just want to get the thing to happen. So it's like like a good example. Actually, no, we'll get into that later. But I'm not gonna tell you that just yet. Um, so I believe that you are a process type, the type of person. Well, let me think. Am I thinking that correctly? Yes, I am. So yeah, process. So this means that you are more focused on like the sequential series of events and like the things that you are like going through that get you to the destination. And so it's like, are you disappointed with like outcomes, right? It's like not really. You're not really disappointed with the output. You're more in the process, and then your process is this sort of self maintenance that you're doing to keep yourself balanced and in good condition. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's like that's kind of what you're telling me. It's like you're not focused on the output of the situation, but you are this continuous state of like readjustment and reaffirmation, and you seem to be um, involved in a lot of self maintenance.
Yeah, I don't want to be too fixated on one thing, because if that falls through or something drastically changes, then you're kind of like lost. I kind of want to have a set route that has backup plans, you know?
Yeah. Absolutely. Um, it's because you're more perceptually balanced for one. That's why you're telling me that. But that's something I
Hmm.
usually say much later. Um, okay. Oh yeah, static versus dynamic. Sorry, this is the one that I added most recently. So static versus dynamic is the actual J versus P, where it's like if you're thinking from it from an MBTI perspective, that um, dynamic is a J type and static is a P type. So that's actually what the equivalent of like the socionics understanding is. It's so we're gonna start with dynamics. So this is J and MBTI, not J and socionics. Um,
Okay.
so with dynamic people, you have people who are continuously updating their process or system. They're focused on refinement or basically making this thing better and understanding it better to time. You'll find that dynamic types have a tendency to binge through information that's relevant. So it's like they're seeking some sort of like solution, and so they will immediately go to a source and they will try to like figure it out. So they don't sit down and try to wire it together themselves. They go find the nearest source of information that will help them. That's basically what that's referring to.
Hmm.
And then static types in comparison are people who do not update. their processes. They're people who have different things when the thing updates, and so it's no longer what it is, but it is now in a different stage, and it is no longer what it is. And so it's like every time that it's updated, it changes. And there's also kind of a seeking of basically broadness in the information. So these people might expose themselves to certain circumstances or situations in order to become inspired from them, or to have like experience or these things, and then the person wants to personally have experience and understanding with things. They can also do this abstractly, where it's maybe they're not necessarily there doing the thing, but they can also binge information. There are static types who will binge information, like the dynamics will, but it tends to be more personal in nature. So I definitely think that you're dynamic, and so the reason I think that you're dynamic is because your process of refinement is always continuous, and so you're never quite getting too hung up on things. It's like you're always like moving forward. You're always going forward. It's like when you're talking about how do you deal with time. It's this continual series of processes that you're going through. It's like this one thing after the other, and then you have to have arrangements of these things that you're experiencing in order to like reach kind of what you're going for in these. So it's like you keep yourself busy. You were good at like completing tasks and things. So it's like you're good at staying atop all of your affairs, is another way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, definitely.
You flow. You're not solid. I, on the other hand, am very solid. I'm very dense. So now we're going to move on to the quadra, and it's usually the political question, which I kind of devised this one from. So for I believe that you're an alpha quadra. So alphas are going to be people who are going to explore other ideas in order to make the society better, because they're promoting the ideas of what they're doing. It's not a message to the people. It's not like a unifying of things. It is ideas that are solid within themselves, that are good and deserve like basically experiments with. And so they like to be inspired. They like to come up with creative solutions. And so that's kind of how I would describe alpha. They also can be people who don't really want to be within that situation as well. Because it's basically not going to be like an aristocrat, where an aristocrat is like, this is my voice, this is my opinion. Um, it's more along the lines of like, I'm a voice of many. And it's like they might see it as a bit more nuanced. The SI is kind of contingent on like self-questioning a bit more, is what you'll see with deltas. But deltas are more along the lines of, I will go find a source that is worthy of my time, and then that's how I will participate in that situation. Like it's like they'll go consult somebody who can help them with the thing. That's what SI does, where the SE is more so demanding of like their own perspective. But so you can kind of see that as well. The way that you kind of replied is that you don't want to really be in that situation, because you find that people are just generally unsatisfied with things. And so, right, you can hear that you're one voice in many, and that there is many different perspectives, and it's like, I'm going to be subject to all those different perspectives. And that's the thing, where it's like, I have all of these different things that could be applied, and it's like, well, am I the arbiter of all these ideas, of all these things that could be applied? Not necessarily, because maybe not to say that you think that there's a better person for the job, but you just don't think that you're the right fit.
Yeah. No, I definitely think if there's so many conflicting ideas, I feel like I'm not the sole person that's obligated to bring them together. I feel like people need to be talking to each other, and I don't need to be the voice of reason for every individual person ever.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's because it's like you're receptive to people's intelligence and intellect. You are moved by the ideas. The ideas are unifying, and
Mm.
that's what the alpha quadra thing is. It's not the people. It's not the emotions. It's the ideas.
Yeah.
So there it is, right there. It's like the one voice of many. And it's like, and then you're unifying with the way that you understand the ideas. And it's, but somebody who is not alpha quadrant could come to a very similar conclusion. I think I come to a pretty similar conclusion in politics as well. Right? So to think I'm one voice of many. To what degree is my voice even necessary or appropriate?
Hmm.
But nevertheless, I still have my own opinion that I don't
Yeah.
beat others with. I try not to. But yeah, now we're going to go ahead and move on to the functions or elements, as they're called in socionics. And we're going to go through the blockings of them. And so the blocking is basically like the pairing of these two elements in order to perform like a specific like thing, like it's like the output of these two things. And so it's kind of seeing that one is affected by the other, and maybe perhaps in socionics there's more of descriptiveness based off of that function with its bonding to another more than it just being by itself.
Oh, okay.
So it's how they talk to each other in a way. It's because information metabolism. So we are going to start with functions. I'll call them functions for now, since I think that'll be easier. And we're going to start with dimensionality, the highest, and then move to dimensionality, the lowest. That's not the way that it is written in Socionics Model A, and the functions are described in their pairings in a different rate. Like, no, not a different rate, different order. So we're going to start with the id block. So the id block is basically things that you find is not very interesting. It is the strong but unvalued section. So it's things that you're good at, but things that are not your primary way of operating in the world. So we're gonna start with the first. The first we're gonna start with is going to be four-dimensional unvalued, and this one is demonstrative. So with demonstrative, you're going to see somebody who is good at this to the point where it's like apparent through their personality, but they never specifically make sense of the world using this at all. And so it's like they can understand this pretty well. So it's like you can see them having good perspective or understanding, or like even good criticism of things from sort of this perspective. But they're just not they're not saying it. It's not an expression of them. It's more general in the ether. This one, I believe, for you is ESE. And so basically ESE demonstrative is kind of shown as the meek person. And so meek within the Greek understanding, not meek from the English understanding, where it's people who can fight but choose not to. So this is somebody who is going to be aware of perhaps their image, for example. They could be aware of their ideas or perspective or position in a way where they can leverage themselves externally. And so that's going to be like strong ESE in general, but the way that it is, instead of you getting what you want out of the people, so it's like pushing people to get the thing that you desire, it's more about being more receptive, being like more considerate of like your positioning or like your behavior. So it's going to be somebody who's like, instead of me going out of my way to get what I want from other people, I will cooperate with them so that I can benefit from them. It's kind of like the modus operandi of ESE polar. I mean, no, ESE demonstrative. What am I saying? And so they're people. So it's like they are surprisingly sturdy. They're surprisingly hard to like truly mess with because they're very stable people. But they are also people who respond in aggression, I would say, in like a similar way, but also as a result can be taken advantage of. But so it's like because they don't have that awareness or that like astuteness, because it's more of like trusting. But that's not to say that you should take advantage of these people, because they're certainly capable of pushing you right back. That's kind of the gist.
Yeah. Yeah, because in my capability, I know I'm going to end up getting what I want anyway, but I'm not trying to step on any ants because I don't need karma later on to deal with on top of whatever I'm going next for my next goal. I need a nice harmonious balance between getting what I want and having the universe satisfied with my outcome.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I definitely see that. And so it's like when you're talking about when you're talking about SE, also it's like you can have conflict with people, but it's also
Mm-hmm.
not something that you necessarily prefer. One thing that I've actually found with people who have um, is that they will be willing to jump in front of fights. They will get in the way of people when they're fighting. It's like therefore, like they're actuating themselves, like really like leveraging themselves externally in a sort of an SE way, but it's not for SE goals at all. you know,
Mm.
it's not for like the application of force. It's for like the removal of it. Um, but yeah, we're gonna go ahead and move on to the next element in this blocking, and it is the ignoring. So the ignoring is three-dimensional, unvalued. It is a is a function that appears weak but isn't. It's basically um, something that this person is going to get bored with, so they might be able to use it for like a certain period of time, but they'll ultimately like move on to focus on more interesting or intriguing things. So I believe that this one for you is FI. And so, what FI looks like in the ignoring position, it is not looking out for oneself too much. It's to see the interlocking field through which that you're kind of in before you understand your own position. Even though that you do focus on your own position, you do feel your emotions. You do have this understanding of yourself. It's far more related to the situation or circumstances that you're currently going through than it is like this detached part within yourself, isolated from the events and circumstances that you're feeling. So you can process your emotions, you can have understanding of your emotions, but staying in your perspective for too long will get boring, and so that's FI ignoring. And so when I'm talking to you about your emotions and how do you form your morals, it's like a lot of the things that you talk about tend to be very externally weighted. It's like what really stirs you into action or into decision really isn't things um, that that are super retroflective, retrospective. Sorry. So it's more along the lines of like the perspectives of other people. Good example is an EIE, so an FE based person that I typed. Said when they have conflicts, oh, a person's calling me again. This is killing me. But basically, okay, sorry, that really distracted me. So yeah, she was like talking about like conflict. It wasn't like leveraging her opinion on people like what a gamma would do. It was like I'm
Mm.
gonna be patient so I can figure this situation out. Like it's like I'm gonna look at the other people and I'm gonna see what they're doing instead of just doing what I do. That's like another good example of it.
Mm.
Um, so has this made sense so far?
Yeah, no. If I'm not talking, it's because I'm taking everything you're saying.
Yes,
Um, it's not that I'm not understanding what you're saying.
I understand
This is
completely.
obviously a lot of the time when I'm having like internet conversations like this. It's a lot of information I'm taking in, and I have like little people in my head running around talking back, but it's not verbalizing. But I am agreeing with everything you're saying so far. It is making sense. And I feel like a lot of it is basically sounding like me. So you're on the hot topic right now. So
Okay. All right. We're gonna move on to the next blocking, which is the
Mhm.
superego blocking. And so these are the unvalued and also weak functions, and so this is kind of what you're going to be criticized for, or you'll criticize other people for, you know. So it's like this is more like innate parts of like the person that kind of like represent disagreement on things, because you just don't really see it from this perspective. You could overlap with people who have these perspectives, but there's always your sort of way that you look at it. So we're going to start with the role, which is two-dimensional, unvalued. And so the role is going to be in opposition to the base, in opposition to the strongest and most used. So it is the alternate mask that they'll switch to in situations when it really resonates with what the base function is about. So it's like they can kind of alternate. And so, oh man.
Hmm?
Okay, sorry. I have like demands being placed upon me at the moment. But I'll try to like I'll try to. Hmm. Oh man, this is kind of bad. All right. You know, I just need to finish this. I think because it's better. It's better just being one piece. So, so the role functions in opposition. So it's the one that the person kind of moves to when it really supports like the main theme or like the foundation of what you're doing. So it's also rigid in comparison to the other one, and so it is actually a load bearing function, unlike the other one. The other one in this blocking is very weak, and so it's like you see the role being kind of used in this like way where it's not really being used with that, but it's responding more so to like other things. Um, this one I believe for you is wait a second. TE. So basically, what you see with role TE is a person that in their doings of things, they will kind of like have this as just kind of something to back up what they're saying. So for example, it's like I want to have everybody's emotions aligning, but I want to do that because then we can be productive. And then there, it's like you can hear the opposite energy and basically like the same thing. So it's like they're supporting their argument with this piece. It's kind of there. They can use it. It doesn't like this is not something that is really going to trip them up in life. But it is also something that they're just really like not very considerate of, and so you can have a lot of problems with this. So it's like you use this too much, you care about this too much, that sort of thing. So that's kind of how you look externally, or that there's too much of it. So uh, basically, when I was asking you questions, is like, can you be focused on the output of things? Can you be focused on situations where people can get things accomplished, you know, like in your own affairs or with other people, because you don't find it productive to be pushing other people out of the way and that sort of thing. It's kind of like you can recognize the unproductivity and kind of betraying your modus operandi, your primary way of being. So you're basically capable of just sticking to what you know and what you do, but you have an understanding of this, and so I can kind of see that, you know, it's like the outcome, the output, that sort of thing. So we'll move on to the polar now, and so the polar is sort of it's basically like thin, like it's receptive. It's like not very usable. You don't see this. You don't see it like applied. It's really interesting because this person can stack a bunch of information on this one. They can do a lot of work on it, but then they never do it. It's pretty interesting. Like they'll just do the same thing over and over again, even though they know what they're doing wrong. which is kind of what it sounds like to me, but maybe that's not it. Maybe they're using other ways of actually getting around the problem. So,
Mm.
which is very consistent because you'll see the other functions lean in the way of this one to kind of make up for its deficit. It's also called the vulnerable. Um, so basically, your vulnerable, I believe, is NI. And so, NI vulnerability or NI polar basically is this person who is going to be constantly moving around, making sure that everything's settled. So they're never like sitting back and waiting. They're letting it all. They're not letting it all come together. They're making it happen. They are actually actuating the thing and moving the parts, and like stirring the soul or whatever. So this also can mean it's kind of like an ignorance of like the capability of harmfulness of others as well with the unipolar, because it's like awareness of like what is not like automatically reachable, but from what can be extrued or extracted or extrapolated. So it's like you'll find that NI, especially like gamma NI, might be cynical of other people or other ideas because it recognized the uselessness of not its usefulness, not the positive, not the optimistic, but also the cynical and the potential for catastrophe, because it's NI's predictive, you know, and so that's kind of how it manifests. I believe that you are NI polar because, you know, when I'm asking you about time management, you're talking about continuously being in like your state and flow, and then you're also talking about, especially it's like when you're doing things that might be incorrect. It's like you're not really concerned about like the incorrectness of it because you can't stop, you can't slow down, because if you do that then you're going to be in a low state of functioning, right? And so that makes a lot of sense. It's like a shark mentality. The shark has to keep swimming because if it stops it dies, and that's kind of like sort of the mentality. So it's like you don't want to stop and like think about all the nasty and negative things. You don't want to stop and you know, basically be dead in the water. You want to continue to keep going, and so that's like the lack of like retrospection, where it's like, oh, you know, maybe that could be it. Does that make sense?
I've never had anyone analyze my mindset like that in terms of drive. I'm like, oh my god, I actually am a shark swimming around and stuff.
Well, interesting. I'm glad you're taking the impressionism of it well.
Yeah, because you're talking and it's like, hey, this I kind of get it because I'm always in a state of some sort of flow or some sort of something's happening, right? And then you're like talking about the shark constantly swimming what dies. I'm like, oh my god, literally I'm a shark. No, but you know, I can't help it.
Yeah. Interesting. Got four more to cover. Then I'm probably gonna. I don't even know if I'm gonna even do a DCNH. I think we can figure that one out later, honestly, because I'm kind of in a rush.
Okay, no worries. Whatever you need to do.
Okay. We're gonna start with the base because we're moving on to the valued now, and we're starting with high dimensionality. And no, I'm going too fast. We need to start with the ego blocking. I started with the function on accident. Um, so the ego is the mask that you wear, what you represent to the world, what other people look to you for, whatever you're expert at, whatever you're excellent at, and where you would like to put most of your energy because of this excellence. Um, so we're going to begin with the base, which is four-dimensional valued. This is something so strong that it represents that it represents you. You never truly leave this. I mean, except for like examples when you're using the role to back it up. Um, but it's the thing that you will spend most of your time in. You basically never turn this off, and so it can like represent kind of imbalance as well in other ways. Um, but it is also something that you do so fluently and so well that you know you can externalize this to other people, and you can actually be guiding light for people who need this. Um, I believe that your base function is FE, and so this means, especially because you are alpha, which is going to make a big difference, a big difference. So alpha quadra FE is harmony. Is not an MBTI sense because it's not FE generally, but it is what you are looking at is SI. So SI is the harmony. I had the similar kind of like vein of harmony. You are looking at all the separate pieces that are included in that harmony. Where it's like me, it's like harmony of like basically impact or impression. It is for you. You see the whole thing swimming, like this whole big creature. You know what I mean? This all the other fish in the school, the pack. So it's like basically you understanding your balance in relationship to that on the basis of like your like emotional intelligence. So this is going to be somebody who is going to be good at maintaining their emotional states and probably won't let it dip down into negativity too much. This is going to be somebody who's going to bring that to other people, somebody who can bring joy to others, and with different experiences and circumstances that will also bring joy to them. You know how to give people pleasant sensations and happiness. So this is usually somebody who's capable of bringing people together and putting them all into a good mood. But that's also strongly because of its blocking with SI, where the SI is focused on the environment, the continuous state of the environment. It's not leveraging the tactical situation in an SE way. It is like measuring the environment, knowing the impression that it leaves on everything in that circuit, and then you're adjusting your emotions to that entire flow state. And that's basically what's going on with the ego blocking. But I think I described a lot of SI and bound with the FE in that one. But I think we'll talk about the FI. I mean, not the sorry, the SI creative now. So the creative function is three-dimensional valued. It is basically the alternate hand to the dominant. It is constantly reorganizing, reassessing, and making things more palatable from the original. It is also the thing that you bring externally to others. That this is the thing that others benefit from you. It's the part of yourself that you bring internally outwards for extroverts. And so this one, I believe, for you is SI. And so SI is the flow state that I was talking about because it's the dynamic sensory field with all the objects. You know, it's like when you're valuing aesthetics, for example, you're seeing the relationship of all those objects, and so you want to get rid of any sort of negative relationship. And so this is not using cleanliness as a strategy in an NI way. It is actually that you are you actually observe and exist within the environment, and so you want the environment to be a reflection of you, and so it's just like an innate valuing of cleanliness, and this is what aesthetics is meaning in socionics. It is the appearance of that, and so it's like things being cute, things being attractive, things being fashionable. And so I've actually met a member of your type, which is actually a fashion designer in New York, which is interesting for a while, and then they moved back home to take care of their parents. But they're very creative, expressionistic people. Basically, is like Alpha Quadra SI in a sense.
Can I just say something to add on to that? I have a sewing machine and I make my own clothes.
Yeah, see,
I'm like into fashion as well. I used to collect the Vogue magazines at school and like use that as ideas of what to wear out. I've always been into fashion as well.
super interesting. Yeah, see, it all kind of lines up and correlates, doesn't it? I definitely call the type that I'm going to give you the impressionistic type. And there's a quiet intelligence to the way that they see the world. But we're gonna move on to the final blocking because I gotta take off here. The final blocking is I don't know why it takes so long sometimes. It is the super id blocking. So the super id is basically what you value but you're not good at. It's your weak. So these are going to be things that you kind of appreciate when seen in high quality. It could be things that you were going to grow towards as you get older and get better at. This is, what you appreciate in the world, right? It's not what you're appreciated for in the world. It's what you yourself are appreciating and moving towards and seeking, especially when you're talking about the suggestive. But there's some examples of the mobilizing as well. So we're going to start with the mobilizing, which earlier when I was talking about the role being rigid, the mobilizing is rigid as well. There are some other functions that are rigid that I didn't quite talk about. The base is rigid, the ignoring is rigid. So with this, with the mobilizing, which is two-dimensional unvalued, it's going to be something that you're enthusiastic about, which you're not quite good at, and so this is the social integration. So it's the criticism that you'll probably receive based off of your level of functioning, not on innately who you are, but this is going to be more so your level of functioning, or you're going to receive criticism from. So this is like the integration or the mobilizing. It's spurring you into movement. For example, it is the thing that you are going towards. So you will very much appreciate compliments in this area. So this one for you is extroverted intuition. So with extroverted intuition, you are understanding things. You are understanding things from a big picture perspective. So you are like connecting the dots. You are seeing the interconnection and interplay between things and situations and circumstances. It's like that thing happens here and that other place in this different form, or there is something similar or congruent to these things that I am observing. It's really more so like the observation, not the categorization of it, because the categorization is it's more so like philosophical than it is like the sort of what you are perceiving, more so than it is like the output or anything. You know what I mean? The understanding of it is just of being able to observe it. So you'll find that people who are valuing with this function or have it strong are going to be people that might be moving or going to other places to experience them, because they like to see all the ways that things are different in different places. This is also like kind of having like an impression of things, and so it's like your understanding of them, your perspective or point of view, because it's static. So this one is kind of like the snapshot that you're taking of it, and it's the snapshot that is not necessarily of the direct moment. It is describing the moment broadly, so to speak. So this is kind of like when I'm saying that you are more like observationally balanced, this is what I'm referring to. So that just like, you can say, oh, I can make an idea if nobody else will, what I mean? Because it's like you're like, I might as well take a stab at it if no one else is going to do this, is kind of like the way that you see this, because it's like you can generate something. I definitely think that this function in its positioning is one of the reasons that you see like alpha and like the way that it's creative and artistic and all these other things. And so it's something that you can move towards to and work towards. In fact, I know somebody of the personality type that I'm going to be giving you that is very, very creative and very like inspired, and just has these very abstract understanding of things. It's just very undescribably deep. It's strange. And you kind of are demonstrating that as well, because you have this thing in your brain that's kind of like feeding you information, and this is where like it's the impressionistic, because it's not like NI. It's not like there's the evidence playing out over time as I expected it. It's really just like kind of like this thing in the back of your mind. It's this abstract part of yourself that you can't really quite describe, and that other people might think it's silly when you describe as well. I can definitely see this in like a lot of the things that you were talking about, like with like the whole like creativity parts of it. You not necessarily tripping up so much in the processing of information. So it's like if somebody's giving you constructive criticism, your NE is like, okay, what's not being understood in this situation, right? And so it's like, what if this person actually has something worthwhile to say? And so it's like the NE is the open window that's going to allow that person to change your perspective. And so it's like, I don't know everything, and then maybe this person can help me out, because it's like open, right? I always see NI is closed and NE is open. So there's a kind of a good example of you using NE, especially in the position that it's mobilizing and not suggestive. Yeah, I can also see that, like what you were saying about like, how you predict events, that's very avant-garde, and it's kind of like expression, and that's a really good example of like any in the mobilizing position, because it's something when externalized other people might be cynical of, like an ILI. If they heard that, they would try to break that down. You know what I mean? I just like could hear like the ILI in the back of my brain, just like saying, "This is what this person isn't actually looking at. Here's the NIFI, ha ha ha. The seriousness, all the pain, like." But it's just really funny. But yeah, it's you kind of have this creativeness. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I feel like my creativity is its own entity at this point because they'd be doing bits that I haven't even realized is possible. And then I'm like, oh, wow, this makes sense. And then it just spawns into existence.
Cool.
I feel like subconsciously, I'm kind of just always taking in my environment, whether I'm engaged with it or not. And I feel like it always kind of builds itself like a little Lego house. And I'm like, well, now I have stuff to work with.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like when you're playing a video game and you're learning the dynamics of the video game, even though you're not actually fully paying attention to the game, you're kind of just like noticing small details within the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's really more so related to SI, but I definitely think it's like the observation, that I think is like the important part. Because it's like it's not what you're putting outwards. It's that you take a lot in, and that's kind of
Yeah.
where the NI polar is coming in. It's like the way that you take in ideas is just purely open. It's not something where it's like your abstract nature is cynical. It's like an optimistic abstraction.
Yeah, it's like I'm taking in so much, I'm not noticing what I'm actually taking in until like later on, where it comes to the point where I'm using knowledge in subjective situations and I'm realizing I've got all these components I've just naturally picked up anyway. I'm like, oh, I can do this because I've just learnt this somehow.
Yeah. We gotta go because like I gotta
Yeah, no,
I
no.
gotta get something done. So we're gonna move on finally to suggestive. Suggestive, one-dimensional but valued. This is going to be something you really can't make for yourself very well, and so you go to others in order to have them form this for you. This is going to be something that you're going to painstakingly weave together in your life, and so it's going to be something that you're also going to be seeking or going towards, and you admire people who do this well. So this one is TI. So with suggestive TI, you admire people's good or concise reasoning for things. You tend to take those on board to be able to use them or leverage them at specific times because it's a piece of knowledge or information. This means that you can become sort of expert in things that you are involved in frequently. And so it's time put in is really what you see with like alpha quadra intelligence. I would say it's not like up and down. It's not like a big spiral or something. It's kind of like a continuous and steady sharpening. Is what you see with like TI and SI. So you'll basically appreciate people who are going to teach you things. They're going to make you expert in places where you want to be effective. So this is like you would probably be really a big fan of somebody who could teach you things about your sewing that could allow you to make money at it, for example.
Mm.
Or somebody or somebody who could increase like the value or like your aesthetic way that you like work with the material. Somebody who could inspire you as well. It's like the people who are working on your identity, and this is what you told me in the beginning that you were seeking is your identity, and that's what you're balancing with is identity. So that's what tells me you have the big, strong, rigid, powerful FE supported by the impressionistic and flowing TI. And so it's like that's what you're seeking with your balance. And so you always want to know who you are. and then that knowing those objective things about yourself are what keeps you in line. And so this is why you don't like to be a bad person, for example. That's like a flaw in your TI. That's my imperfection. That's not my consistency. And I want to be consistently nice. I want to be consistently good. I want to be consistently helpful. And so it's one of the great things that I find about SI is that SI doesn't do a whole lot of damage by itself. I mean, not to say that SI users can't be involved in it or cause the damage themselves, but I would definitely say that they tend not to go out of their way to hurt others. And so, but yeah, that was me tying everything together in like a big fancy bow and package, because there was a lot basically going into that last part there. So did everything make sense?
Yes. Yeah, it did.
Okay. Well, cool. The final typing is going to be ESE.
Yay.
Yeah, see, because now that it's like contextualized appropriately in socionics and not in MBTI, which is like a 1D resolution of what ESE looks like. So yeah, it's really bad. It's really Kiersey sank that ship, bro.
Well, you're the third person that's typed me it, so I guess I'm gonna just have to roll with it now. I've got no choice.
But you know, see, there's a lot of positives about it as well that I think is
Yeah,
what I
yeah,
really
no,
try
I don't want to
enumerate.
shit on the type. I don't think like it's far off. ESF is definitely me. The X would be whatever. Obviously, if everyone's saying one thing, I can't keep fighting it. I have to like take in the criticism. Not that it's
Yes.
criticism per se, but oh well, that's it. ESFJ, let's die happy.
Okay.
But no, thank you for your time. I honestly do appreciate it.
Yeah. Tips are welcome, but I understand if you don't have the money right now. So anyway, I gotta go.
I get paid at 2 a.m. So if you give me your PayPal, I'll send you something
Oh, that's super kind of you. Thank you.
before my money gets snapped up by bills and shit.
Okay, yeah. I'll send you that here in a little bit, but I gotta go. My dad is in trouble, so I'll be back.
All right.
Oh, no, okay, cool.
Good
Bye,
luck,
bye.
bud.
Bye.